You will not find what I'm about to show you anywhere online. You will not find it on YouTube, you won't find it on Google, you won't find it anywhere. This is the only place. I spent 4 hours compiling one file that contains not one, not two, not 10, but 50 Star Citizen vessels and the entire space station. It's amazing. 92 million polygons, it's crazy. Let's dive in. So Star Citizen game is something that I'm not playing actively, but I spend quite a lot of time in game taking screenshots. I have about 10,000 screenshots from the game or more, and I think the design in this game is out of this world. It's kind of like standing in front of the mountain range, looking at the mountains and thinking like, I ain't going through this. This is just too crazy. It's an intimidating level of what the hell. So if you look at all these vessels, and think about it, how many thousands of hours and how many people, how much expertise went into just creating this one piece of 3D goodness, this one blend file. It's amazing, right? And if you're gonna look closer at some of these vessels, and we're gonna have a closer look at at some of them, and we're gonna have a look inside, and you're gonna have a deeper look at the design. If you look at the details and the forms, the shapes, you can just get lost in it, and sometimes I just open these files and look at them, and I'm just I don't know what to say. That's how good it is. All right, it's so good. So look at this shit, man. I mean, you just don't know what to say, you know what I mean? Like you just forget what you want to say. That's how good this is. So again, we're gonna have a closer look at these. And some time ago, I think 3 years ago, I posted a video in which I was discussing one of these vessels. It was the Buccaneer, and it was this one here in the middle. That's the one, right? It looks a bit like a squirrel or like a rat or like a mouse. It's a fantastic design, and especially from the front. Looks kind of like a rodent, right? Like a, some sort of a, I don't know. You see that? Just the eyes and the mouth. It's just genius. But anyway, that's what I was talking about when we were talking about all the decals. Because you can see clearly this is just a decal atlas with all the details. It's thousands of them, right? Thousands. And that's just outside. You have also the inside, which is insanely detailed as well. So we were talking about this design, and so go ahead and watch the video if you want to. It's fantastic. But in this video, I want to show you some other things. Like for example, we're gonna look closer at this vessel, which is a Corsair. That's a newer one, and you can tell that the newer vessels are a bit more audacious. They're way more complicated in terms of design. They have more parts, more elements, and you can tell that they're way more evolved. I mean, look at this thing, man. It's just I don't even know, man. I just don't. I mean, you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? That's what I mean. So anyway, I'm just gonna open separate files because this is just really heavy to navigate. I can just open a separate file of the Corsair, and I can actually show you how it looks. This is I ran some renders of all these vessels. Some of the textures may be missing, some of the decals may be missing, etc. But more or less you can get the feel of all the details when you look at this, right? And at the end of the video, just stick to the end, I'm going to run like a collage of all the imagery that I created, all the renders, so you can have a closer look. But in this file, we have a bit more of a kind of a snappy viewport, so we can kind of have a closer look here. So again, going back, if you look at how it's structured, there are layers upon layers of decals. These are all decal, decal atlases, and they're huge. They're in thousands, right? So a lot of details on these vessels, it's created with decals, right? And then when you start diving deeper into cockpit, you can start exploring all the interiors and how all the modularity of them and how everything is structured and constructed. Some parts of this mesh can be missing, so some of the ships are not complete, unfortunately, but we're gonna dive into files with more complete ships, and you'll see stuff in greater detail. But if you look here, like even these small elements some kind of like parts of engine or coolers or whatever the hell this is, drives, I don't know, containers. The detail on them is just mind-boggling. By the way, the Star Citizen content, right, the vessels and everything, it's one of the games where you can find mid-poly modeling, which means you have a one segmented bevel and weighted normal modifier, which basically prevents you from needing to bake bevels, because baked bevels look kind of fake, although that was a technique they used before the Marmoset Toolbag 5, which now allows you to bake bevels directly in Marmoset as a different technique for it. So I think the need for low poly models gonna slowly, decline, especially for games. Maybe for mobile games it's different, but for regular games you probably will not need a low poly anymore, or it's gonna just, become less and less relevant. But anyway, let's just have a look here at the design, at the engines, up close. It's just, they work in teams, like massive teams. You got writers, designers, engineers. There's actually, I was watching a documentary on how they make it, and you have a, designer and the model sitting at the same desk together, kind of working back and forth on the model. And then you have the whole team that designs UI, the interiors, and all that. Lighting is just a whole team, and there's like 10 15 or more people work on one vessel. You can tell why. It's just insane amount of details and work that goes into it. Even the landing gears, especially the landing gears, they're all functional, right? So if I'm going to move this one, when you're in game, you can actually see all this moving. And if you want to have a good opportunity, the best opportunity to take screenshots of these vessels and actually can rent them and fly them is during the event. I think it's end of the year. I don't know if it's November, October, I can't remember. But there is an event during which you can just go to an exhibition. It's like a ship exhibition, and throughout 10 days you can rent and try different vessels. Just buy the starter pack, for like $45, go in and you can take all kinds of screenshots. And trust me, when you see these things in life, when you're in game and you see them in a proper scale and from a perspective, it's a whole different experience. So it's, you can take a ton of screenshots of all kinds of, guns and landing gears and bits and pieces and gates and latches and hatches and whatever the hell you want. And you can actually go inside the vessel and, and sit inside of stuff like this cockpit, right? Which is just, look at this shit, bro. I'm like, every time I open this thing, I'm like a kid in a candy store, man. I'm like, can we get this one? Can we get this one? Oh, can we get this one? Come on, man. Whoa. Anyway, let's look into other vessels, right? So let's let me pop this up here. Let's look at the big ones, right? So let's look at here. Let's look at the Jump, right? This one. This is a massive vessel. It's from the Origin ship maker. And you can see here, right? Origin. And there's quite a few of them. You got here from the smallest one, which is the 85X, I think. One of these, right? Through the 100, 300, then you have 400, 600i, and then the 890 Jump, which is just a beautiful yacht, like a space yacht. Look at this fucking thing, man. I can't do it. I really can't. I'm just like, wow. Anyway, so this gear is, if I grab a human, just to give you a scale reference, okay, there is somewhere here in this scene. Oh, that's the one. This is the one, right? You see that, right? This is a quad bike, which is basically like a small, small hovercraft, right? So, like a sci-fi motorbike, basically, right? So you got this, right? So imagine, just bear this size in mind, right? And apply this to this landing gear. Okay, that's the scale reference we're talking about, right? So the human, when you go to the exhibition and you see this ship in game, it barely fits the exhibition, space. And you are basically not taller than, you know, this bit here, right? Humans are so tiny. So this landing gear is, I don't know, 20 meters tall, maybe taller. It's insane. And the amount of pieces, moving pieces in this landing gear is like, you need like few minutes to understand how this works. Like you need to really just, you know, look at it and like, okay, this folds, you know, this folds inside and then pulls up. Okay, got it. And then this pulls up, then breaks here in half and gets pulled inside of the ship. I mean, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on. So whoever is designing these, you know, they probably have some deep understanding of mechanical design. I wouldn't be surprised if there were engineers or had some engineering background or had engineers in the team, because I don't really see how anyone could design this without any proper, you know, like mechanical background. So if I'm going to pull this ship in here, because this takes just too long to open, let me just pull it up in here in a single file. Again, pulling these ships into one file took me like properly 4 hours. I was streaming this on our Discord. By the way, if you're interested, you know, pop in our Discord. The link is in the video description. Ever so often I hop in and just do some stream for fun with the guys. And that was one of the streams when we were just putting this thing together. But looking at the design, you know, it looks like a very futuristic yacht, like a space yacht. And it's just in the form of a boat. The engines are just crazy, right? I mean, insane. There are multiple entries, by the way, to this vessel. There's like a massive elevator in here, and I think there's one more entrance in the front. I can't remember. But if we're going to hide this, you know, we can actually pop inside and have a bit of a look-see. There's again some stuff missing here, so I don't know if you're gonna be able to see all the things, but again, you got a lot of, you know, like cargo inside. Some floors are missing, I can say. I can see that some floors are missing, but then we have the passage here to the cockpit. There's actually a lot of stuff missing from this vessel. There's an elevator inside here, or maybe there's a turret, I can't remember. But yeah, some stuff definitely is missing in here, so this one is actually incomplete. So let's pop something smaller. Maybe we're gonna find a more complete vessel here. Let me just go to Origin 400. Yeah, this one. This one is one of the most beautiful designs in the game, in my opinion. It's just superb. You got this kind of front gear being pulled to the main structure. Let me just zoom out here. Where is it? That's the one. Let me just nuke this and pop it into object, and I'm going to hide all the overlays because we don't need them, right? Yeah, so this design is just amazing. It looks a bit like a combination of a yacht with a motorbike with some kind of like a, you know, I don't know, spacecraft as well. You got this amazingly integrated, you know, front gear. You see this front just slides down and pushes forward, so it kind of slides an angle in. So this edge, you know, slides all the way up to here, and it just hides inside of this vessel. You know, it's a very graceful design. Looks a bit like a like some sort of like an alien face here with a nose. Oh, it's just, you know, it's gorgeous. This one is just superb. And then you got the interior here, you know, with all the bits and pieces and the chair that you know, turns around and slides all the way here to the front. We see some decals for, you know, for monitors and stuff. We can actually go inside here you know, and look inside of the vessel. We got some rooms here on the side, so we can have a look-see with plants, you know. I mean, it's just holy cow. Anyway, and again, in game, like, you know, you even have interiors like with books and stuff and some modern sculptures, and looks a bit like a study room, like a small library or something, right? Let me just zoom in closer and kind of try to, there we go. And with some frames and pictures, probably holograms, some drawers, beautifully integrated into the designs. It's the same, like, this is a cool thing, right? The whole theme of the vessel and the interior kind of plays together, so you can really learn how to be consistent with design when you're looking at these things, right? Which is really important, because consistency in design is one of the most difficult things to do which is why you have art directors, which were gonna be, you know, kind of like a guardian of this direction in which the game or whatever you do is going, right? So it's really important. And the same with the guns. Look at this. I mean, it follows this kind of like a beautiful, slick, modern design. And this turret, kind of like an auto turret in the front, with these guns mounted in here. And the guns are basically interchangeable. You can change them in game, but very simple design, but very beautiful. It's just amazing, man. Absolutely amazing. The amount of inspiration you can get from stuff like this is just out of this world, you know, because we're talking about, it's like getting a business advice from Steve Jobs, you know, sort of, you know, this is on that level, right? That's the level we're talking about. And if you want to see the vessel, it looks like this in game, more or less. Now, some of the decals are maybe not displaying correctly, like here, but more or less that's how it looks like. So you can see that they broken it into bits and pieces with like a black and white design, which makes it kind of like a, you know, like a yacht, like a space yacht. And yeah, it's just, you know, I love it. Absolutely love it. It's very graceful design. And you got this deck in the back, like you got these decks on yachts. No, it's the same thing, right? Anyway, let's keep looking. So then we have, you know, we have the let me just zoom in here. Then we have this one. This one is one of the most interesting designs, and I think this was designed by Jan Urschel. He designed at least one or two vessels. I know he designed the Banu Defender, which I don't have in here, and this one is a Prowler. This is the these vessels are, I think, for the alien race in Star Citizen. But I mean, just look at this shit, man. It's like a spine on the top in here. It just looks so mean. Ah, so good. You got these kind of like side, I don't know, man, some kind of anti-grav engines or whatever. It kind of reminds me of Matrix and this vessel in Matrix, remember? That Neo and what was his name? I forgot. Morpheus, that's the one, were on. And you got this tail that kind of looks a bit like a fish or some sort of like a dolphin. This one is really interesting. Like a bird slash like a whale, dolphin slash gorilla or something. I don't know. It's just genius. And the interior is mental. Let me show you some renders I did. I mean, look at this, man. These bent fingers. That's hot. The same with the landing gear. It's so cleverly integrated into the design. It kind of looks like it's landing on knuckles. You know, you got these beautiful tiny support legs in the back, and it sort of looks like it's hovering in the air. Oh man, this is something else. I mean, it's one of my favorite designs. Now look at the how they break the surface with planar shifts, right? You got all these planar shifts in here. You got the massive plate here, then it bends, right? This triangle, then it bends again. And you got these kind of planar shifts all over, and they kind of define the shape because you got light bouncing in a different way from all these planar shifts, right? And you got these collapsible wings, so when he lifts off, he stretches the wings on these rotary mechanisms, right? And I don't know what happens with these because I can't remember, but yeah, this is pretty cool. I actually flew this in game. Crazy stuff. And this is from the front. That's a one mean motherfucker, that's what I'm gonna say. And you see, like, they so beautifully balanced from each side, and very often they follow some design of animals, or, you know, kind of like a hybrid sort of a concept, crossover between, you know, a ship, a boat, a bird, whatever. They take a lot of inspiration from nature. This is actually quite often in high-end design where people just draw from nature quite a lot, because nature is so, it's kind of perfect in its imperfection, which is really, you know, great source of inspiration design, especially when you're like when you're designing. I had a question during one of our Q&A calls in our coaching group about design, and I said, look, you know, you like designing ships and stuff and drones. What you should do is just grab, you know, a camera and a macro lens and start doing macro photography of bugs, because when you get to this level of macro photography, when you normally you can't see what you can see through that lens because it's just too small. You enter in this kind of like a very alien world of bugs, and the shapes you can discover over there are just kind of crazy. And you know, I see a lot of this in here, in shapes of these vessels. Like for example, you see this one, the reclaimer. Is it not the reclaimer? This one is called I think it's a vulture. I think it's a is it? I don't remember. Hang on, what is this? Let me just see here. I think it's a vulture. Yeah, vulture. So this one is basically for breaking breaking ships. Like you have a wreck of a ship. You use this ship to break it into smaller parts. It's kind of like a modern digger or some kind of like an industrial machine. You know, you got the cockpit here, and you got these massive arms that break the bits of the ship into smaller pieces, or maybe some kind of, you know, some kind of a resource, whatever. But if you look at the design, it's just fucking crazy. You know, you really need to take some proper time to appreciate every single detail on this motherfucker, man. Like, this is insane. You know, I could look for this for hours, man. Like, I could just make a coffee and go with it. At my age, this thing is better than sex, I swear to God. Anyway, so what I want to show you is this one, Prowler, right? So let's just look into the blend file. Yeah, so check this out, man. I'm going to nuke this and go here to objects. I can actually appreciate the, you know, the design without any noise, because you see, like when you're looking at the design, right, when you're looking at something like this, there's a lot of noise. I mean, no, maybe not in this one, but usually you have a lot of noise in design, because the issue is that you have the, you know, the stickers, the lights, the colors of the mat, all that is very distracting, right? So what you want to do is you want to remove all the distractions as much as you can, and you can, you know, look at the design from a different perspective and in a different light. And even without any mods, even without any proper lighting, this is just insane, right? This is still you know, completely intimidating and crazy level of design. And but when I get inside of the vessel, you will see what I mean, right? So let me just nuke these here and see if we can actually get inside, right? So hang on a second, I nuked something I shouldn't nuke. Let me just nuke the sides here. Can I move this? Okay, let me just nuke this. Nuke this. Okay, there we go. And now he's sort of entering the component here inside. Yeah, let me nuke this one as well. H. Okay, watch this. Let me just see if I can actually get inside here. Am I inside of the vessel? I think I am. There we go. Okay, now let me bring everything back. So Alt H, boom, right? Do you see what I mean? I don't have words. I don't. I just don't have any fucking words. That's, you know, you being speechless. And you got all these decals here too. So the level of detail inside is actually higher than what you see outside, which is crazy, right? So you got this kind of like a drop ship, and I'm guessing you have the, you know, soldiers attached to these, and these sides open and they just being dropped. So it's kind of like a, you know, war dropship, right? I'm guessing there's a soldier each here, because you can see there's kind of like a support for the back, and they're being dropped outside. I don't know if they're robots or whatever, but and then you got the cockpit here, additional seats in here inside, maybe for the crew, I don't know. And this one, you sit here, you rotate, and you go forward. And then on windows, I think, although I might be wrong, but yeah, there's some kind of like a really modern kind of a, you know, the yoke and the cockpit, so it's very alien, which is really cool, right? So maybe it's designed for a very different creature, you know, probably. Don't know if it's for like a human hand size, but you have some switches here, etc. So maybe they have a similar, you know, kind of a biology to us. But from what I remember, I think these are for like aliens or alien race. And you got more decals in here. Look at this, right? These are all decals, right? Crazy stuff. And look at the details and like kind of a layering of this interior, right? So if you look at the how many layers you have in here, how deep the design, how rich the design is, right? It's absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. So yeah, that's, you know, that's one of the most interesting ships, I would say. So let's just close this. And you know, this one is incredible as well. Let me just find the vulture. This from Drake, right? Drake is one of the coolest vessels in game, in my opinion. They're absolutely amazing. That's how the vessel looks in game, by the way. I think the color is a bit off in here, but you have this kind of like a cabin in here, and then, you know, all the engines and processing some units, whatever it is. But yeah, I'm guessing this entire bag powers what's happening in the front, and you got 2 engines here and maybe something in the back. So the design is just incredible. It looks a bit like a crab, right? With these arms, kind of like I don't know, it's a bug / crab, whatever. But this is so freaking cool. I mean, just mind-boggling. So yeah, let's look at this one, right? So let me nuke the camera and this nonsense and actually unlock the camera from view. There we go. I have cameras in here because I was you know, rendering them, and look how many decals is in this scene. I mean, this is just here, right? And they're all decals. All of these are decals, and each of these sections has its own decals. Basically. So if you're not using decals, you're doing it wrong. That's the bottom line. Trim sheets and decals, which is why, you know, we put such an emphasis on these two, especially for the development of our add-on, the Material Works. And I don't know if you're going to be watching this video if it's out already, but we're currently working on the update that will allow you to apply decals and trim sheets directly through the add-on, so you will not need a decal machine for it. It's going to be less conflicts and less errors, probably. That's the idea behind it. But you know, in order to create good decals and in order to create good trim sheets, you really need to be good at designing, because these details have to be consistent, cohesive, make sense. They have to be delivered in a clean fashion, because once you bake them, the maps have to be clean. So you know, it's a good, if you're interested in learning how to, you know, get to that level, then I would suggest you grab our course, the Hard Surface Accelerator, which is going to teach you all the basics and the fundamentals of hard surface modeling. But if you're a bit more advanced, then I would strongly recommend our course, the Ultimate Guide to Hard Ops and Box Cutter 2.0, because that one will teach you how to work really fast. And for building something like this, you're gonna have to, you know, shake a leg, because otherwise you're gonna spend your entire life building. I mean, this is crazy. I don't know. I really want to know how long this took to model. I really would like to know. I would be scared to ask, but I would love to know. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, links to both courses in the video description. So look at this back here. This is so cool, because this kind of, you know, this looks like a drone, some sort of like an antenna or some sort of like a radar, right? That maybe detects broken ships around or whatever. But it looks like it could be detached and kind of fly on its own, you know, like the cable is detached and it just flies away. But when you look at it, it sort of reminds me of, you know, the shape of the top here. So again, the engines, the way they designed, you know, it all kind of flows together, and it's not accidental. You can see clear design language and deep thoughts that went into this. And the planning must have been insane. And if you look at, you know, like, look at this from the top, man. I mean, what the fuck? It's just so good, your brain cannot process it, you know? That's how good this shit is, right? You just can't process it. You look at it, you understand what you're looking at, but you can't process it. So, you know, this is actually an interesting thing, because when you're looking at design created by other people, right? And you're a beginner and or you're intermediate, whatever, and you're thinking like, holy cow, I'll never get to this level. That's not true. you always have to understand that, there's gonna be always someone better than you, gonna be always higher than you, and it's gonna be always someone that's gonna create stuff that's gonna make you like wanna quit, basically, because you're like, there's no way I can do this. Well, someone made this, which means it's not beyond human capabilities, right? I know there's one guy in our community, on our Discord. So one of our students, basically, he got the job with Star Citizen, with the company, with the Emporium. So he's from UK, so lucky for him, so he didn't have to move because they fly everyone over. I know another guy from Australia who works for them. He's designing vessels. He's a great designer. And they flew him from Australia because, when you design stuff like this on this level, you really want to be in the same room with people. I mean, like I told you, they work at the same desk. The designer and modeler, they sit at the same fucking desk. They have two computers, one desk. They kind of, like a symbiosis, right? They connected. They call them Siamese twins, right? Like they're physically connected. I mean, that's how you need to work. There's just no other way. You need to be literally piped together because you need to become like one unit that thinks alike, right? And works in complete, kind of a harmony to create something that beautifully balanced and designed. There's just no other way. There's just no other way. You can't do it through a Zoom call. It's not gonna happen. So yeah, and this is the funny thing. This looks good from any fucking angle. Look. Whew. This is better than Latina ass, man. I mean, I swear to God, this is just scary. I mean, look at this shit, man. Fuck you now. You just will like give up on life. Do you know what I mean? So if you feel like this, this is the important thing, right? Stuff like this should, motivate you. Okay, so remember that in order to get to this level, you really need to study hard, and you really need to immerse yourself in design on a completely different level. I mean, there's just look at the interior, man. I mean, you got this multi-layered ceiling, and I guarantee you that if I lift this floor, there's gonna be somewhere underneath. Oh no, there isn't. Okay, fair enough. But you got this multi-layered ceiling, and then if I'm gonna go deeper in here, right, we got this shaft here going up. Let me just try to hang on. Let me try to angle. There we go. Let me try to angle myself in a way that I can actually go up. There we go. Let's go here, and I want to go up. It's a bit difficult to navigate this, but I want to show you the interior. Yeah, so now we're inside of the ship on a second level, and I think, oh yeah, there's a cupboard in here. It's like maybe for clothes, and then you got probably some kind of like a kitchen area, whatever. That looks like a kitchen area, right? And then you probably have a bed. There you go. So you can kind of like chill in space. Look at all the parental lines here. This is funny. Let me just hide them for a second. There we go. And you got another, cupboard in here, and then we have the cockpit, right? So from the cockpit, you're gonna have this, amazing view in here. Let me just hide these so you can see what the pilot will see. So if you sit in here, this is gonna be your view, right? How cool is this? These monitors on the top. I mean, one vessel you could just spend, I don't know, a week. Even guns are mounted just for like self-defense. And you got these amazing integrations of these massive elements, kind of circular element that sort of break the whole form. It kind of sells the illusion as this could move up and down, and creates this kind of like a nice, sort of like a nice trunk, sort of like a space here, like the cargo space, or this kind of like a storage space. And you got this functional top and these two tools in the front. So you got like 3 sections combined together. Amazing. And look at the integration of the landing gear too. And it's all functional as well, right? Look. This design is no joke. This is like as serious as you can get with design. If you want to fall in love with sci-fi, that's it. This is where you come, you know. You come here and that's it. That's the end of the road. Even from the bottom, this looks amazing. I give up, man. I really do. This is one of my favorite vessels, by the way. So yeah, there you go. And then let's have a look at something else, maybe something smaller, okay? Some of these smaller vessels have genius design, right? Genius. They have a very complex structure, like a mechanical structures or like devices. Like for example, this one, I think it's called Scorpius. It looks a bit like something between, I think it's a Scorpius. Let me see this. Yeah, this one is Scorpius from RSI. So this one looks a bit like a swallow, you know, the bird with these wings here in the back, but the front looks very aggressive, a bit like a mouth of a scorpion. And especially the guns, they kind of remind me of the scorpion sting. I don't know why. But these wings are folding, right? So they kind of unfolding when you fly. You know, this wing's gonna kind of move outside. I mean, I can't move them because they're only in pieces. But this entire side here, you see, there's like a pivot point. Two of them, right? So these wings gonna kind of unfold. When you land, you can land in a smaller space, right? Smaller hangar. And then when when you lift off, and then you can just, expand the wings and off you go. But there's one vessel, I think it's called Mantis. Let me find it. It's a vessel for transporting prisoners. And the bit in which you're transporting prisoners is in the back. Let me see if I can find this one. This one. This is one of, in my opinion, this is one of the best designs in the entire game. This one. Look at this. It looks like a pterodactyl, you know, this, the flying dinosaur, right? Look at the complexity of the mechanical design on this thing. I just want to open a separate file for this one. It's a hawk, right? I wouldn't call it hawk, I would call it pterodactyl. I think it's gonna be a better name for it or something like this. But this one is from Anvil. So let's go to hawk, and this is how it looks in render, right? So that's my render of the ship in Blender. And you can see a little bit better the complexity of design. It's an extremely complex form. I forgot how to make it, but I think you can find it in on ArtStation if you Google this. But this, in my opinion, is one of the best designs in Star Citizen in terms of like the idea behind it, and also the complexity of mechanical design. Because if you look at these wings, right? Look at these wings. They rotate here and fold and collapse in, right? So this entire structure folds and collapses in. But look at the back, yeah? This is where the prisoner goes. So the pilot is in the front, right? There's a pilot seat here. Look at this. Look at this shit, man. I just want to cry, man. This is so good. Fucking hell. Anyway, got distracted. So yeah, here in the back, this one goes all the way up, right? So you load the prisoner here. Look at this. This is like a bed for a prisoner with shackles, which is kind of cool, right? You literally load the guy in, like as if he escaped into space, whatever. And this whole structure goes up, right? Goes up, and let me just collapse this, and locks in here, and the wings are just folding out. Right? And you look at the integration of the landing gear inside in here. So the landing gear, this one is actually messed up here slightly. I think it's misaligned. Let me see this. Yeah, the landing gear is slightly misaligned. But what happens here is the landing gear rotates, right? In a way that it's gonna rotate and folds inside of the wing, and then the wing expands. Right? And then on top of this, you got these guns here. Look at the gun mounts. They're massive. So this, you know, this ship has quite a lot of firepower. But think about the complexity of the design between the landing gear, the foldable wings, guns, two of them, because you got guns here, right? Which gonna be actually moving forward when the wing folds, and there's also a gun hidden in here. So this gun folds into the wing. I mean, this is insane. This design is fucking insane, right? I can barely wrap my head around this shit when I'm looking at it. This is actually misaligned here. This should be inside of the wing. And by the way, this part is a part of the wing. It should be somewhere here inside, like here, see? It's just misaligned on the file, but this is it, right? So when the vessel gets destroyed, you actually have this fuselage here inside. So look how complex and how detailed this is, right? It's down to the fuselage. So when you damage the vessel and you have some damage, you know, like maybe missing parts of whatever, I'm guessing this is for the gameplay. You expose part of the, you know, part of the structure of the wings, right? And then you got this very interesting, you know, landing here in the back, which is a very different mechanism than these two on the side. I'm telling you, this is one of the most complex vessels. It's a small one, but complex vessels, you know, in this game. And on top of this, right, look how amazing this design is in terms of gracefulness. It's so graceful. Look at this. I can't. I just fucking can't. You know what I mean? This is genius. That's like Stephen Hawking level of design for me, right? That's how good this shit is. I would honestly fucking crawl through glass to be taught by this guy how to design shit. That's how good this thing is, right? For me. Amazing. It's one of the, except for the vulture, this is, I think, one of the most interesting designs in the game. So there you go, that's that. And then we have the, you know, smaller vessels, like really cool ones. Like for example, look at this. There's kind of like a really tiny one here, this one. But exceptionally interesting design. It's kind of like a Formula One in space. Look at this, right? So let me just show you. This one is, I think it's RSI. Wait a minute, this was, come on. Yeah, this one is Miss Razor X. Look at this, right? This is like a sports car in space. Look at the integration of the engine inside of the shape. I mean, how cool is that? It's sort of like a spoiler of the Formula One, but at the same time converted into a spaceship, which I think is fucking genius. And you got this, I think this is either a jump, a drive, or whatever it is here in the back. Really nicely integrated. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be there. It could have been moved, but I'm not sure. But if it's supposed to be there, then I think it looks cool. But it's possible that it's actually not supposed to be there. I'm not quite sure. I think it actually got, yeah, it probably got moved from somewhere else. Maybe it should be somewhere inside. But even so, you know, it doesn't really matter, right? It looks great nonetheless. So let me open the file separately here and I'll show you. So check this out, right? Here. Yeah, look at the integration of these engines and how these lines, all of them, how they flow. Look at this. How beautifully this is, how geometric this is designed. With all these lines of the landing gear, you know, crossing at the same angle here with these cuts. And then you got these wings kind of spreading and the engines in the middle. It's just so good. The guns on the side, nothing is overlapping. You can clearly see the design language, and it's so complex at the same time. Very graceful from the side. I'm not crazy about where the landing gear is positioned. I don't know if it's actually moved or not, but I think it would be better if the landing gear was somewhere here. I think it would look more graceful, my opinion. But you know, yeah, I think it's supposed to be here. But the problem is, if you move it forward, there might be not enough space for the landing gear. But if what I would have done, I would actually make it smaller or narrower and move it forward, because I think it would look better if this landing gear was somewhere here, okay? I think it would look better, but that's me. But from the front, look at this, man. I mean, it's so good. Look at this layered, kind of like a alignment of the gear with the guns, and then you got this span of wings, and it just makes it more aggressive. Kind of like planted on the ground. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And then you got the cockpit, which is also kind of multi-layered. You got boom, 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 right? 3 layers, you know, cut here, and then you got the windows. And this cockpit, look at this, how tightly it's designed, right? But look at the lines inside. They're very modern. It looks a bit like a Lamborghini inside, you know what I mean? See what I mean? Like the lines kind of remind me of a really high, kind of like a hypercar or like a, you know, like a supercar, right? It's a very good use of, you know, space in here with these kind of joysticks and whatnot on sides, and gives you this kind of like emphasizes this kind of like a, you know, sportsy feel of this vessel, right? It's gonna be extremely agile, probably a lot of G-force and all this. Well, in space probably there's not much G-force, but you know, but there you go. Fantastic. Absolutely genius. So yeah, let's close that, and then let's look at this one. Is also very interesting. This one is called Archimedes, I think, and I think this is from Anvil. Or maybe I'm wrong. Oh no, this is from Krieg. All right, so it looks like this. It's intimidating as hell. Very powerful engines, kind of like a muscle car in space. That's what I'm seeing here, right? With a very long bonnet. This is kind of like an inspiration. When I was designing the ship for the plasticity course, I was inspired in a way by this vessel. I remember seeing this vessel in the exhibition hall, and I really like this kind of elongated bonnet, like in the old Jaguar, or you know, the Corvette Stingray, you know, like an elongated bonnet, which emphasizes kind of a sportsness and the power of the vessel, right? And you got these massive engines in the back. I really like this vessel. It's one of my favorite shapes and designs. Very aggressive as well. Look at this. Looks like a pissed off shark with all these guns here. I mean, you don't want to mess this guy. And look at the engines, man. They're huge. I mean, the engines is like, you know, I don't know, 1/4 of the vessel. Massive, right? Massive. So yeah, very interesting design. And you got this integrated circle in the middle, which is kind of surprising, right? Kind of surprising, but kind of flows really nicely with these lines. So look a bit like a spear, head of the spear made out of stone. You know, like kind of sort of like chiseled away stone, and you got this kind of a head of a spear with these kind of cuts on sides. You know, that's what I see when I'm looking at this. Very aggressive and intimidating shape. Really like it. Cockpit also interesting. We even have a pilot in here. That pilot is actually not from Star Citizen. This one is from Jama Jurabiv. I think I use her to run the some renders. Interesting chair mounting, kind of like a frame in the back with some kind of, you know, pistons and some sort of pneumatics. Really cool. It's kind of like a bare bones muscle death, basically. That's what it is, right? I'll get you, and when I get you, you're dead. That's what this vessel, you know, says to me. Anyway, let's close it. And the last thing I want to show you, because, you know, we've been here for a long time, I could do this for hours. If you guys want another video, let me know, because, you know, this file is not going anywhere. I'm just gonna come back to it ever so often. I mean, looking at this vessel, the Reclaimer from, I think it's from Aegis, the manufacturer. This one is fucking huge inside. You can get actually you can get lost in it. Is how big it is, right? Multiple elevators, 5 or 6 floors, crazy. And this one is for breaking. It's kind of like the Vulture, but the larger version of it is for breaking hulls of vessels into smaller pieces. You got this kind of like a, you know, device here on the bottom, which is why it's called Reclaimer. And look at these engines, man. Look at these engines. Like, what? crazy. Nuts. Anyway, I want to show you the station. So let me show you the station. Station, I think it's this one. You can fly to this station in game. I think it's called Olisar. I mean, they're probably reusing this model in different places, but you know, you can see all the landing pads in here for vessels. You know, the area outside. Look at the detail. Some of the parts are missing here, obviously, but it's crazy how much detail you have in here and how much inspiration you can draw from these just by looking at them. And you know, when you're thinking about designing some machinery or you know some I mean, it's just nuts. This is most likely, you know, kit bashed to a point where they have reusable elements and they kit bashing them together in order to create, you know, interesting shapes and designs. But nonetheless, someone had to model this, and this is just nuts. And you can also go inside of the station here. I'm pretty sure we can. Let me see if I can actually go inside. There we go. And we have, yeah, there we go. Now inside of the station, we can actually see literally inside of the corridors. You got stairways, you know, plants, and there's I think it's the main hall of the station is a massive hologram. And again, you know, some elements are missing, but you can get some pretty good idea and some inspiration in terms of design looking at these elements, right? How complex this is. Just a ceiling, man. No one's gonna be even looking in here. Look how much work went into that. This is what I really like about, you know, about, you can say whatever you want about Star Citizen and how they develop in the game and that maybe never gonna be finished. Honestly, I don't care, because I just, for me, that the sheer fact I can look at this stuff is just beyond mind-boggling, right? What I appreciate about it is that someone went to such a length to create something so exceptional that no one can copy. That is really what, you know, gets me. You know what I mean? Like, that's like, you just want to salute, you know, like respect, because that's all you want to say. There's nothing else you can say. What are you gonna say? That's it. So let's see here. This is just yeah, this is just something you cannot access, because the other parts of the station you can't access. There's only one small place when you can actually get in, and the rest is just, you know, smoke and mirrors. But yeah, that's the core of the space station. This is where you can actually get in and walk inside, and the rest basically is, you know, is just I don't know, life support and storage, whatever. So that's the main feature here, right? I'm pretty sure there's some kind of like an engine room somewhere here. Let me see this. Oh, there you go. These are corridors. You can probably walk in here. Some hanging cables. Go lower to maintenance levels. Yeah. So that will be the space station. I also have, I can actually show you something that's not in the file here, which is the, let's just open the hangar. I think it's incomplete as well, but you know, I'm just gonna pop it in so you can see. Yeah, this is an incomplete hangar with some interesting interior in here. There is a staircase. Let me just nuke the, there we go. Interesting staircase with all the details, and you know, there's no faker in here. It's all geometry. Look at this. It's all running on mid poly bevels in game, so again, one segmented bevels, right? Look at how much detail is in these walls. This is the fascinating thing, right? They really know how to use the negative space, how to use the anchors. You got these concentrations of details, and then you got these beautiful empty spaces leading to another visual anchor, and then leading you somewhere else to another visual anchor. And even here on site, when you have a lot of detail, you got these empty spaces just connecting you know, from place to place. But even so, the amount of detail is just crazy, absolutely bonkers, right? Absolutely bonkers. And again, this is all geometry. This, you know, no faker. It's all geometry. Look at this. It's all geo, right? This actually doesn't have any decals. So yeah, nuts. Crazy. And then I'll show you one more thing, just as a bonus, because why not? This one, Grim Hex System. This is actually a whole system, including asteroids. I think I've been there in game. You can fly there. You can fly to any of these, and you can actually fly any of these vessels, especially if you, like I told you, take part in this event, which is the, it's happening every year. It's kind of like an exhibition, you know, ship exhibition. There you go. It's kind of like a hangar in space somewhere. I don't know, abandoned mine or whatever. There you go. With all these kind of beams and structures and gates, and I think it's like a collapsed mine or whatever. I don't know exactly what it's supposed to be, but quite an interesting detail here too, kind of built into a rock with a structure here on the top that's collapsed. See, there's something collapsed in, maybe like an abandoned station or some project that was abandoned halfway. Let me just turn off the parenting lines. But even though you can still, you know, take some inspiration from it in terms of, you know, here, the structures, very simple ones, or even here in the back, you know, there's kind of like a technical noise. See, there's a damage here. It's all bent. So maybe there's like an asteroid, you know, impact of an asteroid just fell in, crushed this, and, you know, maybe the station just went bust. And there was abandoned. Some containers here too. And look at this, they even modeled inside. No one's going to be looking inside, but they still modeled inside. Like, what the, you know? This game is crazy. It's actually fucking crazy. It's kind of like someone was, you know, fixing something. I do it sometimes too. It's actually driving Josh insane. When I fix something that no one's going to see, but I know it's there and it's going to annoy me. And I don't care if someone's not going to see that. If I know I should fix it, I'll fix it because it's just my character, right? I cannot stop, you know what I mean? And I really don't care if it's productive, non-productive. I want to fix it because it's you know, it's just there. I know I can fix it and it can be better, so I should do it, you know? And that kind of a mindset is really important. And I think this kind of a mindset is what these people who created this must have, because if you're not obsessed about detail and quality to a, like I said, you know, to just a degree of obsession, right? You need to be obsessed with this. So if you're not that kind of a person, I don't think you can create something that good. It's just not going to happen because you'll give up halfway, right? You're going to give up halfway. So anyway, guys, I think that's enough of, you know, of this for one day. If you want to venture into other vessels and you want me to show you some other vessels from this file, let me know in the comment section, and you know, we can always have a look. There's quite a lot of other vessels here that are really, really, really interesting. Like for example, there is a really cool vessel. Let me find it. Where was it? Like for example, this one. This one is quite interesting as well. Very agile. I think this one is called Mosquito, but I could be wrong. By the way, there's quite a lot of vessels here left that we haven't talked about, like for example this, which is the raft for you know, transporting stuff. Then you have a mole, this one for mining. This is a mining vessel, right? And it's also completely insane. And there's quite a lot of other stuff which is quite interesting. You got this massive war vessel which is called Starlifter. This one, I think it's a war vessel, or maybe actually no, I think it's the actually I don't know what's the function of it, but it looks a bit like a Concorde, you know what I mean, like a sci-fi jumbo jet, yeah, like a you know, massive passenger plane, really. I don't know why I said it's a war vessel. I don't think it's a war vessel, but you can actually see it in game. There's a city, I forgot the name. There's a city that it's kind of like floating in the air, in space, and this vessel is being worked on or like designed in one of the hangars, and you can actually see it. It's massive, you know. Guys, if you're really into this, I really cannot recommend this, more. Grab the starter pack. It's like 45 bucks. I don't get paid to tell you this, but what I'm saying is like, that's what I would do. That's what I did. Just get a starter pack for the game, go in, and seriously, if you want to get inspired and you want to get immersed with a really good sci-fi, or the best sci-fi that is for, vessels and this kind of space-like stuff, I don't really think there's a better place to do this, than this game. I really don't think so. Anyway, this is for the video. Thanks for watching. Like I said, if you wanna, get to this level, you need to start somewhere. So it's a good idea to start with a good content. And if you want to learn how to get better at Blender and hard surface in Blender, then grab our course, the Hard Surface Accelerator. But if you're a bit more advanced, I would highly recommend you start working with add-ons, specifically hard ups and box cutter, and that's the ultimate guide to hard ups and box cutter course. You can read about both of them on our website. The links are in the video description and in the comment pinned under the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.